here. Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Better Business Analytics with Powerful Business Intelligence Tools. Your presenter today is Terry Ginley, the Director of Technology Services here at Associates. Couple of housekeeping items we'd like to mention before we get started today. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please either raise your hand, it's an icon located in your GoToWebinar dashboard screen, or just submit a question directly in there, and we will make sure to capture those and answer them at the end of the presentation. We'll also be sharing the presenter, Terry, his contact information at the end so that you can email him directly if you think of anything after the presentation today. So Terry, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you to go over today's agenda.
Thanks, Cheryl. And first of all, thank you everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, depending on your location, and thanks for carving out some time here today to learn a little bit more about business intelligence and analytics. So with the agenda, we'll just go through quickly. Just like any project, it's important to determine, what will be in scope for the presentation today or what is kind of out of scope here today. We'll talk through that. I think it's important next to give a quick definition of what we look at as business intelligence or analytics. We use those pretty interchangeably. And then why business intelligence? Why are we doing this for our businesses and why it's important? And then also talk a little bit about understand the need for business intelligence. Some specific examples we'll go through of how it can help your business in certain ways. And then we'll spend a good amount of the presentation today. I myself, I like to look at things very visual and graphically to kind of look and say, what's the best business solution? How do I want my data? Where do I want it? In what format? So I'm going to go through a lot of just solutions that we've built for our clients over the years and share those. And then as we finish up towards the end of the presentation, we'll go through a bit on kind of best practices for implementation. I believe Gartner reports that roughly business intelligence projects, roughly 25 to almost 33% of them, never really receive the benefits and the value that they design in the front end. And a lot of it has to do with best practices and implementation. So we want to make sure that we talk about those. And then we should have about 10 minutes at the end of the presentation for a Q&A. And please submit your questions as we're going through, as Cheryl mentioned, and we'll jump into the presentation. So the first thing, this is definitely out of scope here today. Today's presentation is not going to be about BI architecture, product roadmaps, any specific pitches for any BI vendors or tools or application. It's kind of hard to believe that this slide, back when I worked for Microsoft, we actually used to use this to explain what we thought was very simply, here's the Microsoft Business Intelligence share stack. So it was incredible eye charts. Never really talked too much about the real solutions. So opposite of today, we want to show real solutions with business data. The next area we're going to talk or not talk about is definitely out of scope. We're not going to go into any philosophical discussions of multidimensional expression analysis, best practices in OLAP, or any of the kind of tech talk that a lot of people start these presentations out with, because I really do believe it's not a business intelligence and analytics for most companies are not technology problems that are out there. It's not a matter of we don't have lots of data. It's not a matter of that we don't have lots of tools that are available. It's a matter of how do you create adoption of business intelligence and those types of solutions in your organization. So today we're going to be very much business professionals looking at what solution, how can I enable my users in the company. So a couple of definitions that I like, just because business intelligence and analytics can mean so many things to so many different people. I'm going to pause just for a moment here and give you a chance to take a quick read of the slide. So the first quote there I like a lot because it really talks about, business intelligence isn't a one-time, where you're basically creating the dashboard, creating the report. It's not a one-time event. It's a process. I'd even refer to it as an end-to-end process that basically people are working through to help draw conclusions. And the second quote I really like because it emphasizes a couple key points. Having quality information is key. Being business-friendly software tools, not analytic tools that the most complex people and the smartest business analysts are only able to use. It should be able, literally end users are actually using the solutions. And then also, as far as, I like that he talks about, right, or I use the word correct information so that they can basically make decisions on the data. We use the term a lot in our company called actionable data. So things that people can really do things with. So the next quote we talk about, why business intelligence. I really like this quote for really what it doesn't say here. And I'll give you just one quick second to review that. What I like that it doesn't say, it never really talks about data warehouses, how important reports, any kind of technology. What it really talks about, is how to create a culture of a learning organization, which means they're constantly learning what the business is doing in the past, in the future, but then also how do we use this information to stay ahead of our competition. I really like this. I was fortunate to see Wayne at a conference and talk with him about this further, and really stuck with me that creating that culture of a learning organization. So the next area we're going to talk about, we talk about, what problems do organizations face today. So we look at some of the hurdles for adoption that we see with our companies we work with. One of the big ones is performance management or reporting only happens once a month. Some organizations once a year. That's not enough to quickly pivot and make changes in your business, in our opinion. Mobile sources of queries of data. Mobile, versions of the truth you hear a lot of times. I know I see it a lot, especially when sales organizations are reporting sales metrics one way, and then CFO or financial people are reporting sales and metrics another way, whether it's booked, whether it's sold, how it's recognized. So basically, two different versions of the truth, can be a challenge in a company. Also, the next one we run into a lot is manual assembly of information. Integrates a lot of data risks. I'm sure many people on the call here today have had Excel links where pulling data in where there's not business logic that will protect that kind of data risks, and that could unfortunately make it look where you may not making a good, strong business decision. Basically the next area we worry about is no view of performance or key business strategies. If you look at a football game, you have a score. You have your score at the end of your game, or the middle of the game, or the beginning, or the midway through the game. If you're not looking at saying how do we change that with the game plan? The game plan should be working hand in hand with the score. So that's an important part. There's also, we see a lot of reliance on IT today to develop a lot of custom reports, which are great. The challenge is can be very reactive, not as soon as quick as we need. So we'll talk a little bit about some self-serve BI today, different ways that you can actually analyze the data. I'm going to jump down one I always run into a lot. A lot of our reporting and analytics really is looking in the rearview mirror. What happened? What we really want to do is take that paradigm and switch it to what do we think is going to happen based on what we've seen in the rearview mirror. Another challenge we run into a lot is spread marts or spreadsheet marts where they've really kind of taken over a lot of business processes. I'm sure we've all seen that monster spreadsheet that somebody's got 9 links to 6 different tabs and 4 different workbooks. That's not a solution that's long-term and viable in an organization. The next one we see a lot of is too much energy spent on compiling the data instead of analyzing the data. With some of the tools that are available today, once they're implemented, that really changes the percentage of time that's used going forward. And then the last area we talk about is giving people, your consumers of the data, what's the best way they want to consume it. In this world of tablets and everything devices, bring your own device to work, how can we go ahead and make that data available to many people, in different ways? So a lot of information is available in your organizations today, and a lot of it is, I want to call it trapped or caught, behind in the back office. So a lot of our ERP systems or CRM solutions, customer relationship management, our solutions have a lot of data, but it's really stuck in the back office. And if you look at the information in the front office or the end users, a lot of people talk about it, whether it's for remote workers, executives, people that don't have access to the ERP or CRM applications, but they're one of the most important users of this data. Sales staff knowing when things are available to sell, when they're not available to sell in a real-time fashion. That's very important, but that can't be stuck in an inventory system. So really, we're looking at different ways to break down the wall of that data and provide that out to our consumers. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and do a quick survey of the participants today on the call. What are your walls? What are you running into? Your biggest barriers for information? So Cheryl, I'll let you go ahead and run the poll.
Yeah, sure. It should be showing on your screen now, so if you just click a radio button and submit, and we'll show the answers here in a minute or two.
Okay, I clicked on the start the poll. Is that showing up, Cheryl?
Yep. I'll just give it one more minute here and show the results.
So we look at the biggest barriers today. You can see the different options there that I've chosen. And even your questions, if someone wants to throw in the question panel, any ones that I've missed here. Last time we ran this poll, somebody wanted to answer question F, which was all of the above and every week that's happened. So that was
There are the results. Terry, are you able to see those?
I don't believe I'm seeing them, Cheryl.
Okay. We've got incorrect data, 0%. Lack of access or easy-to-use tools, we have at 40%. And then at 60%, we have spend more time compiling data than using data.
Interesting. So when we go back and look at that information, some of the solutions that we're talking about, you're going to see a lot of easier-to-use tools for sure. And I'll make sure we're highlighting that during based on your feedback. And then even some of the ability to spend more time compiling the data. We'll talk to that. But thank you for your input. That's pretty consistent from what we've seen. Incorrect data used to be more of an issue historically, but as technology improved, we're seeing less and less of that. So that's good to hear. So when we talk about the business value of business intelligence, it should improve your business in a number of different ways. Improving employee single version of the truth. That's really important. Improved data collection process where it's cleaner and trusted data. Also quicker access to information. It shouldn't be waiting for nightly downloads. It should be live access to data so that they can make quick decisions where appropriate, where even financial data is available more than on a monthly basis. It can be financial statements that are available on off-period times as well. We also want to make sure the value of business intelligence is supported by a safe environment for what-if scenarios. So it's not a matter of just locking the data and saying that's our data, that's our view, but then I can take that slice of the data and say, well, what if this happens? What if sales goes up in these divisions 3% and goes down 6% in this one division? How does that affect my company? So we want to give people a safe environment to be providing that information. And again, back to that learning organization comment that Wayne mentioned in the slide earlier, data-supported decisions across your organization. That's one of the biggest value I see in business intelligence to your organization. And let's not forget the IT value of business intelligence. Typically, when I'm doing this presentation live, I ask for a raise of hands. I won't do that today, but how many people are in the finance or the operational side, and how many people are in the IT side of the business? IT should be your first partner and one of your best allies in working with business intelligence, whether it's a project, data warehousing, reporting solutions, because it really helps them just as much as you people are using the data. It really can result in a report reduction via many ways where we're self-serve business intelligence model where data is available 24/7. It's not a matter of IT pushing data out. It's people that are pulling it automatically. There can be additional lower cost to some of getting the data and some of the BI infrastructure. Many organizations have redundant data in different repositories across the organization, whether that's on servers, it's on customers and users' machines and desktops in Outlook, in Exchange. There's files all over the place. A lower cost of centralizing some of that can be very important. And keep in mind, a lot of the cloud service options for storing this data, even if it's a matter of taking SkyDrive and storing one version of the data in a certain place, simple cloud solutions like that, or business intelligence solutions that are more cloud-based, how does that free up different resources? And just like we saw earlier, the people on the call today are spending too much time analyzing the data, there's too much time pulling the data and not analyzing. The same thing goes for IT. They'd rather be off to next generation projects, mobility, ways of reducing costs, not just supporting requests for information. So really look at IT as your partner in building out business intelligence solutions. The next area I'd like to talk about is basically 3 distinct audiences for business intelligence. Some organizations have all 3 of these, some of them have 2 of them. I hope that they just don't have one, meaning just corporate BI, meaning just one version. I hope that you have some flavor and version. I'll talk about the different types of examples of users of information. So the first one you see is the personal BI or the analyst. In this case, they want to spend their time, in many cases, in Excel. They want good data to start with, trusted data, but then they want to look at it very differently, whether it's forecasting future years or acquisitions of other organizations. They need a trusted environment that they can massage the data, add non-financial data, maybe it's environmental data, maybe it's the weather over periods of time to compare against sales, how that can impact a retail organization. So that's one of the first views we see of personal business intelligence. The next area we talk about being team business intelligence. It's all about accountability. And the best examples I give of this, are monthly financial statements or weekly financial statements, sales updates, where it's structured data, but it's also available very widely, and it's available at the team level so that basically people can make specific decisions, on a daily, weekly basis that can affect their performance. And the third area I think of in audiences for business intelligence is the corporate monitoring. So when we set out our goals for the year, even at our company, Associates, we have our corporate dashboard. There's about 8 different metrics we track, and in this case, it's updated on a daily basis, and we look at that to see where on these 8 metrics, where are we doing the right things or where are we off track. And we'll show some examples of some of the solutions you can see on the corporate one, different dashboards, green, yellow, and red, for showing where we're off target on our goals, and then how can we analyze that further. So at this point, we're going to jump into, probably for about the second half of the presentation here today, talk through just examples of what is business intelligence and what is analytics and how you can use this. I go through this deck and this portion of it with many companies and go through and say, okay, how do you want to surface your data? Once we understand your business, then we have to understand the output. What type of data we try to present it in what device, what form. So it's kind of a good sampling of solutions that we've built. So in this case, it's pretty simple. Many people, I'm sure, have seen pivot charts using Excel. Excel does a good job of pulling easy access to the data, whether it's pivot charts, pivot tables, graphs, very easy to use. And you can even see on the right over here, I can slice and dice my data using some of the what-if tools here, whether it's slicers or driving into different data elements. The next area you can see on the chart here, and again, these are all samples of solutions that we've built over the years or I've used in different organizations. It's a pretty simple Excel chart. In this case, it's really looking at support volume or revenue trends for a budget organization where they're going through and just showing it comparatively year over year. Very simple chart. You can see the data above, in the trending to make analysis, and then the financial numbers below. Excel does a good job of getting your data from your source systems, whether it's an ERP solution, the ones that we work with mostly are Dynamics, Sage, and SysPro, those ERP solutions. It can also come from your Salesforce automation systems, are very easy to get to. Excel also does a good job with Excel 2013 and Office 2013 of getting public data feeds. There's a lot of data feeds that are out there for your industries that Excel can go and just tap into and pull that data down. I'll show you some examples of that here in just another moment. And almost every solution you have, whether it's a manufacturing system, warehouse solutions, have the ability to dump down to Excel. Literally it's edit, dump to Excel, those kinds of solutions are out there. So I want to show next, when we're talking about Excel solutions and some of the Office solutions, Power BI. Power Business Intelligence is from Microsoft. It's a suite of solutions that are available with Office 2013 as well as Office 365. Office 365, think of it as a hosted version of Office. Instead of running it on your desktop, you're basically running it out of the cloud with your data there, your solutions there, but also access to a lot of other data that's available. This piece, there's 5 components to Power BI, and I'm going to show 3 of them here today. Power View is a really neat graphical solution that's available via SharePoint. SharePoint is part of the Office stack. And really what they're doing here is creating a very visual, easy-to-use dashboard where they're analyzing just one day. So on Cyber Monday, they're looking at their sales, where the sales came from, was it computers at home, computers at work. They're analyzing how people with their buying trends on that very one important day, if you're in certain industries, in technology and devices, where did my sales come from? So again, this is created by an end user. This was not created by an IT staff or team. So just one type of way to visualize your data. The next one I want to go to as part of the Power Business Intelligence Power BI stack is Power Map. And I hope everybody was able to see this visual going in some detail here. Cheryl, how's that look on your side?
It looks good. The key's a little bit blurry on the top right.
Got it. Okay. So I'll kind of talk to what information we're pulling here. So here we're basically taking a combination of your data, and in this case we're looking at, it could be your customers, number of sales, number of locations you have, and then we're compiling it in a geospatial way against a map. In this case, it's a Bing map that basically you're able to go out there and take your data and map it to different locations, whether it's in the city, across the world, to show that information. So I'll challenge you at this moment. Think about your company and your organization. How would you basically make your data more useful and more actionable to your leaders and to your managers in the organization with a solution like this? And again, this is not a $100,000 data warehouse project with all kinds of 6-month development project. This is something that that can be put together in a matter of days and weeks that are available for your organization. So very powerful solutions that are now part of Excel. And the last area I'd like to talk about on the Power BI stack for Microsoft is called Power QA. And I know this one's a little fuzzy to see here because I wanted to actually grab this solution actually from a YouTube video that Microsoft has. And at the end of the presentation, we'll provide the links to that. But really a neat technology that's really come together to provide data, a visual, and the ability to ask questions. So I'm highlighting it up here. If you can see my mouse over, basically what I've typed into this question here is I want to see the number of sales opportunities by country. And in my data sheet, where I've got in Power BI, which is Excel, I've got listed by opportunities in country. So I literally typed this question in a verbiage format to get a data solution. And you can see literally it went out there, took the data field, meaning opportunity, sales opportunity, and looked at it across each country at that level, and then mapped it out, in this case, in a geospatial. Ask it questions about your data. So in this case, I would say Africa only, if I want to add to the end of that, and then it would literally just drill into if there was data in Africa or North America. I could get more detail based on a data field. In the past, you would have done that. You would have had to change queries, maybe SQL scripting, used additional pivot tables, refined your data with slicers. Here, you're basically able to ask questions of your data. The nice thing is about it, you can save these questions. You can also share these questions. So someone else in a different region might look at the data a little differently, and they might want to say dollars of sale instead of saying, number of opportunities. So just two different ways to look at the data. So some pretty powerful technologies that are available. So the next solution that I'm going to show you is actually part of Microsoft Visio. And so it was an interesting way that we looked at data and we can actually drill down to get more information. So in this case, you can see from our dashboard we created in SharePoint and in Visio, we looked at the Alaska region. We can see that it's red because the sales quota is at negative 81%. So when we click on that, it'll actually go back to the geospatial map in Alaska, and obviously our sales revenue per square foot really, based on what I know of Alaska, there's not a lot of residents, and our sales would be expected to be in that area. So we can actually drill down and see that versus the state of Washington, which is at 331% of the revenue. We can see that that's in the positive green way. And we can code these, visualize them in different ways that we'd like to show the information. The next example of a data analysis or visualization that I really like, this is what we refer to as a decomposition tree, and it's available via SharePoint Enterprise. So if you take a look at the sales amount, you look in the very left side, you can see that home appliances were $206 million for our organization. So when I click down on that, you can see that it breaks it down by product subcategory, and that's just a different dimension or view that we chose of the data. What I really like about this is it shows you not just the 40 million for washers and dryers, but it actually expands it and shows you in comparison across all the products. And then I decide to drill further, and then I can see which products for each different area. And the neat thing about decomposition trees, compared to a lot of other hierarchy tools, it really kind of shows its trail. And I really think of it as where did the data come from? Where did I start this analysis? But it leaves it all visually open. So a powerful tool to help people make decisions. Especially from our poll earlier, are we spending enough time with solutions like this, or are we just showing that $206 million in home appliances is here, and then we're just showing that it's 2% above last year or below? We want to actually analyze it down to this level of data. The next area I want to talk about, we've talked about Excel, we've talked about some of the Visio and some of the Office solutions, but we're also going to include some other areas because it's not just the Microsoft Business Intelligence Stack, it's not just looking at analyzing Excel. I very much view that reporting, planning, forecasting, budgeting, a lot of people refer to that as corporate performance management, but I think that's an incredibly important part of business analytics as well as business intelligence. Sometimes people think of that as just reporting, but in this case here, this is a forecasting solution that we developed where it actually went out there and tried to look at what your actuals were for periods of time. You can see how I can slice it up here by different entity, different type of currencies, different time periods. So I've created this reporting and planning solution that I can actually go out there and slice and do my analysis, I can see here, my average sales price, my head count in each of the different areas, how I expect to grow the business in the areas. So reporting and planning with some of those tools that are out there are very important for analyzing data as well. The next solution, very similar to the one before, is more of a grid-like view of data. A grid view of data versus some of the more graphical, dashboarding solutions that we've shown earlier and I'll show later, is an important part too, because you can really see certain trends of data, especially in financial and budgeting data. A lot of accountants, like myself, were used to seeing data in grids, over periods of time, more of like a row column type of format. But again, we still want to slice it different ways by number of customers, by location, by products. So a grid solution might be a good way to look at data across a lot of different financial metrics. Whereas some of the dashboards I'll show you in a minute, they're more KPIs or key performance indicators where I want to see specific pieces of data, one piece of data, and how it's trending up or down in a real-time way. Here I'd be looking at it as an annual period. The next thing I want to show here, and this is a Microsoft's SQL Server Reporting Services report. So SSRS you hear in many cases, especially if you're in the Dynamics product lines. You can see that we've created this report and also then shared it with SharePoint so it was available across the company. The report was locked down, controlled, but I can still do things with this report. So think of this more as corporate business intelligence when you think of the different users. So basically, I've created this slice of sales data, and it's kind of interesting. In the top of the report here, I've gone through and done it by sales manager, but then I can slice down and see each of the salespeople in the team. I can see their historical over a period of time. But if you look on the next columns here, I've dynamically shifted the data. I can also see it by region across the world. So where are these different people selling, not just what are they selling or different pieces. But if I do want to drill further, you can see how I'm looking, and I can say, well, what am I selling here across? So it's information that I can go by. So basically, it's a dashboard here that shows many different views of the data. The one additional thing I'd like to call out here, if you've not seen these in Excel 2010 and even in 2013, they've gotten a lot better, spark lines. So literally, I can see small trends instead of doing a large chart, like doing a whole graph on a trend. I can just take these 4 data points here, and I can actually go ahead and share that in one cell of an Excel, or actually in this case it would be a Excel grid that's being surfaced via SSRS. So I can see different pieces of data. So think of it as a data element or a chart inside a chart, probably the best way to refer to it as. So a lot of very powerful visual tools to combine this to make the dashboard. The next thing I referred to a few moments ago were monitoring and KPIs. I can look at different pieces of information, and the key thing that it's highlighted here on the right is real-time dashboards that will alert you and help to spot trends before they become problems in your organization. So in this case, there's basically 4 different KPIs or dashboards that are in what my year-over-year growth is. So I can see different ways, customer addition. I can look here and say, yeah, I'm up in customer addition in certain areas. And then how my marketing campaigns, which are then supporting my financial results, how those are doing. So in this case, my lead count is a little bit concerning right now, but my campaign response count, I'm happy with, or is on neutral for yellow right now. But then I can also look and say, well, more traditional sales reports, basically providing that one dashboard in a real-time solution. In this case, this report, we actually had an update, I believe it was every 30 minutes, so that basically you could look at this financial data in a live format. The next thing I want to talk about is multi-panel dashboards. So it doesn't have to be a matter of going through volumes of data or binders of data or 4 different spreadsheet files. A lot of the dashboarding solutions that are available today, whether it's a Microsoft tool or it's any of the solutions that are available via Tableau or Jet Reports, or Solver BI360. There's a whole host of solutions that provide dashboards like this, where you can see different views of data, and then even grids of data to get into the detail across different areas. And if I want to slice it here, it interacts with pivot tables. I can put filters that are available to show multiple. Basically, my users only have to go to one place to do the analysis instead of going to multiple data sources. The next two solutions that I want to highlight as we look at the different ways to pull data. And again, most of what we've shown so far are tools via Excel, Office. They could be third-party business intelligence tool, but also in some cases, if you have very specific needs to your organization. We just recently did one with an industry for the scrap and waste industry, where they had very specific requirements. So in this case, we can actually create for you, and along with you to understand your requirements, specific operational dashboards. So these are very specific. These do take a little more development and a little more investment in time, but they can be very specific to solving business problems. And in this case, it was a dashboard that we use in a support organization that monitored all of our call activity. So you can see the different people here across the organization. There's 82 open calls. 3 calls have been escalated. When I click on that, it will show me those calls. I can show you how many calls we've logged today, how many we've closed. So you think about your business, what metrics do you need to see on a live basis? This dashboard was updated every 30 seconds, even to the point of with alerting us if any calls were unacknowledged for more than 10 minutes, it would actually go across every manager's screen on top that this call hadn't been acknowledged, and we want to solve that quickly to ensure that we have strong customer service support. So again, custom dashboards, operational workflows that are built into this can be a very important part of your business and part of your business analytics solution as well. And the last one I'll share here, this is actually a dashboard that we use at Associates on a daily and weekly basis that I know I use it. For all of our consultants and our team, they actually keep track of the different areas they work in. So here in this case, I can look at my KPIs for the number of hours that I've worked and billed against my goals. You can see here how much of this has been in admin and sales meetings, how much are actually client delivery hours. Even down to the point, I can see my paid time off, so basically my vacation time here. You can see that I have 140 hours used of my 200 hours for the year. I can see my top projects, how many hours have been put against them, as well as any kind of data I want to see. And on the right over here, and again, this is surfaced via SharePoint to our organization, I can change the different metrics to view it over historical periods of time. Again, very customized dashboard, but we put this together in a matter of just a few months, and then literally we have over 60 people that use this on a daily basis. So just another tool to think about as you look at the different solutions that are available for your organization. So with that, I'm going to stop on the presentation side as far as the different types of solutions that are available, and talk just a little bit about business intelligence, best practices and implementations. Because these are very important. Doesn't matter how good of a tool, how great the initiative is, if it doesn't have the right pull-through in the organizations, they're bound to fail. And this could apply to any project, but we've actually defined a few that are more focused on business intelligence. The first I would say is clearly define the objectives of any business intelligence project. We basically have many customers that come to us and say we want everything we do in the organization replaced. In many cases, we'll stop and say, okay, let's identify all the areas, but let's pick the 2 or 3 where we can make the biggest impact first, and let's define those. The next area I'd really, I can't say this one enough here to emphasize, gain organizational buy-in at a senior level before starting projects. I've seen many projects fail where it's a grassroots effort, 2 or 3 different people are trying to show different data and different tools in different ways, and the leader of the organization haven't really bought in that they're going to make an investment in data so that they can improve the organization. So really make sure you have that at a senior level. The next area I'd highlight is take the time before you start a business intelligence project, do an inventory of the different tools, databases, data sources, It's amazing how many will come popping out of servers and different business groups. So basically, how is it being done today? It's not that we want to replicate all those different solutions, but needing to understand, how large the ocean is before we go ahead and try to boil the different areas is important. Next area is understand and prioritize current user needs. What information is needed, what users need. Those KPI dashboards, we are updating them in less than 30 seconds or, 5 minutes or 1 hour. If that's the case, if that was 1 week old data, it probably wouldn't be that valuable. So definitely ask those questions. And understand today what user needs are not met. People I know are usually real quick to let you know about those. Don't just try to replace what's existing today. Try to look at it from a fresh view. And then other considerations across business intelligence and analytics projects that we've run into over the years, just different ways to make them successful. Eliminate unnecessary databases. If you have redundant data that's rolling and updating and populating here, try to understand why they're being done that way, and if there's a basic way to eliminate that. That can reduce the amount of data servers that are storing the data, licensing costs, which is the next item. As far as reducing some of those can help your organization and also make it a much more efficient process. Licensing cost. Work with your vendors, work with associates to understand what a full license is for using some of the analytics tools. What's a view-only license cost? Understanding how many of each. It's occasional user, a named license versus different types of licensing models. Work with us and we'll help you understand the best solution so you're not overpaying for software licenses. Many cases, try before you buy. Proof of concepts can be a great way to look at business intelligence projects. My last couple of years at Microsoft, we did in 1 year 60 proof of concepts on one solution, just for larger organizations to look at to make sure it was the right fit for their organization. Build a product roadmap, another one to emphasize. Many people will have disparate systems, disparate databases, different products. Work with your IT team to come up with, what type of products that talk together, work together, so that you're not overspending on overlap of solutions. The one thing I always mention here, and I update further, is you really want to help people see the data rather than rows, columns, analyzed in more traditional ways. And I'll kind of update this one too, and on the right device at the right time. That's important. We worked once with a car wash organization that had a string of car washes. They only wanted to see 3 pieces of data. They wanted to see the revenue per hour that came from the car wash, how many gallons of water was used in their car wash per hour. They had a metering system. And then they could literally see, in that comparing those data, is there a chance that if someone's not recording all the revenue as they accurately and ethically as they should, they could catch that very much in a real-time solution, and that was available on a smartphone, so on an hourly basis. Also, the weather was on the phone. It's looking at sales and different data over historical periods of time, so they could do their staffing and scheduling for the car washes in each location. So again, right data, see your data at the right time. And this one I can't emphasize more. Test, train your people on it before you roll out the solution. And then the last thing to talk about is really evangelize the solution, and this is probably throughout the project. Making sure people aren't just looking at it, hey, they're replacing it with another data warehouse, another reporting system. Make sure there's senior people who are evangelizing solutions. Because I've seen good solutions that have been out there that haven't had the support of the organization, and they really don't get the adoption rate, or the real the ROI that they expected, just because of simple things like evangelizing solutions. Many times it's not a technical problem. So just some thoughts to consider, and this deck will be available at the end of the presentation. That can be shared, and you can look at different thoughts as you look at business intelligence solutions. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Cheryl, and I'll wrap up our session and our questions.
Sure, thanks, Terry. Yeah, a couple of next steps here before we jump into Q&A. We'd like to mention at last year's annual customer conference, Aspire, Terry actually hosted a BI panel where 3 of our clients discussed how they have implemented BI in their organizations through Socius and how it has benefited their organizations. So following the webinar today, we'll be sending out a direct link where you can access this video on our YouTube channel and see what they had to say. And speaking of Aspire, we will be sending out save the dates early next month for our 2014 events. Just a couple of dates. We have our Aspire focusing on Microsoft products on September 17th in Columbus, Ohio, and October 22nd in San Francisco. And then we have our Aspire focusing on Sage products on October 21st in Cleveland, at the same place we had it last year. So save the date and stay tuned for more information on those. We'll be hosting these BI webinars quarterly, so if you do have any suggestions on additional BI topics you'd like to learn about, please reach out to Terry or your account manager with those suggestions, and we'll get those scheduled and on the calendar. And as a follow-up, we will be offering that free 1-hour BI consulting analysis to all attendees on today's call, so we'll be reaching out shortly to get those consultations scheduled and on the calendar. So thanks everyone for attending today. We hope that you got some valuable information from today's webinar, and we're going to just stay on the line for a couple more minutes here in case we have any questions. Again, in your GoToWebinar panel, you can either raise your hand and I'll mute your line, or just type a question in the box and I can field those to Terry. And we'll just hang on a couple of minutes here. Terry, if you want to go to the next slide so they have your contact information in case they think of anything later on.